Oh, the excitement is palpable, and the Border Gavaskar Trophy, well, it's going to be on, and it's going to be on fire. My name is Avni Shagde, and in this special video, we're going to be, of course, interacting with our old friend and, of course, an Australian journalist who joins us from her mum's garden, apparently, but it's indicative of the Australian summer. Mel Farrell, thanks so much for your time on cricket.com once again. How are you?
Hang on, if there's a bit of sledging there early on. Did you say old friend? I hope that is referring to the fact we've been friends a lot of time and not a reference to any age factor. Last time I saw you, we were in a garden eating dosa in Bengaluru. So it's a garden theme. I wanted to keep that going.
I was going to use the word frenemies because normally when we associate Indian and Australia cricketers, they've turned out to be friends who've been enemies as well. So essentially, let's start there. What are your initial BGT thoughts? There's so much going on. Before we, of course, uncover the mood of the nation, your first thoughts in this massive series, Mel?
Well, it's quite interesting, isn't it? I was thinking back to the last two times that India has been to Australia, and the first one that they won, the first BGT, that was, I think, something that probably was unexpected in that it'd been, people don't come to Australia and beat Australia in their own backyard. That was certainly the case then. And so I think perhaps, while there was a lot of great excitement and expectations of a good series, the fact that they won it the way they did, I think that probably people sort of went, oh, okay, yeah, I wasn't expecting that. The second time they came back and won that series, and of course we all remember the 36 not out. That, I think there might have been more expectation that time to sort of say, well, can they again? And after that first series, you'd have been pretty brave to have predicted what happened afterwards, particularly with the players that India lost after that first test. So now we come back and you think, well, India have dominated this series at home and away for the past 10 years. But the recent history of that Indian team, the questions over batting in particular, their bowling attack without Shami as well doesn't look as strong. And then you've got an Australian team that kind of just haven't played. And it's just one of those things. They haven't played a test since last Australian season, really. So it's a bit of an unknown. And some of their players haven't looked in great form in Sheffield Shield. Probably the one who's looked in best form batting-wise has been Alex Carey, which is possibly not what you would have expected. So it's just a really funny one, and I'm not quite sure how to look at it. I know a lot of Indian fans are feeling a bit, down in the mouth and lacking confidence because of what's happened recently. I think the batting would be better in Australia. I kind of suspect that. We know that they've had trouble and issues with spin at home. And I don't know, I kind of think that the Australian pitches and conditions might actually suit them a bit better. But it wouldn't surprise me overall if it's a kind of series where it's a bit low scoring, where it's essentially a couple of batters on either side that end up rescuing innings that threaten to fall apart. So that's my feeling about the kind of series we might see.
Yeah, I think I get a sense as well from back home that it could be nip and tuck, even though India just got hammered by the Kiwis 3-0, and that threw pretty much the cat amongst the pigeons in the WTC grander scheme of things, which we'll come to in a bit. But onto your newspapers, because that's one of the reasons why we also wanted you to come on board and just showcase the mood of the nation through the tabloids across the nation. And there's a few which has caught your eye. So could you tell us and the viewers what's going on in Australia with India, of course, arriving and now building up to that Perth test?
Well, yeah, I mean, the one that took my eye, anyone who follows me on Twitter will know, I did put this up, but the News Corp papers, so it's across Australia, Daily Telegraph in New South Wales, the Courier Mail in Brisbane, and the Age, the papers sort of in Adelaide as well. I've never, ever seen this before. This is the front page of the Daily Telegraph, and I love the fact that it's this big splash picture is Virat Kohli, and here's little Pat Cummins down here. Yeah, he plays as well. And of course, as you can see, the paper front page has been split between Hindi and English, and that's the thing. I've just never seen that before. And on the back page, They've given it over to, they've already crowned the new king. They've got Virat Kohli's successor in Yashasvi Jaiswal. And it's split between English and Punjabi. So, man, they've had to Google Translate, pulling some pretty hard hours, I think. But that was amazing. And, an 8-page special. There's also, I'm going to show you this. There's lots of stuff in there. But there's this big poster of Virat Kohli that's made up of little photos of Virat Kohli. I don't know if I hold that, you can see there's loads of little photos there that all go up to make Virat Kohli. And that's the other thing that it shows too, is just, he may have been out of form or not making runs. There may be lots of questions surrounding Virat Kohli, but he is still undoubtedly the biggest draw card when it comes to publicising this series. It's quite something in this country. In fact, I just saw it on Fox Sports. I think I've seen a couple of their promos that are all about Kohli, and that was the case even when they came here in 1819. I wrote a piece where I just sort of followed the hype around him for that whole series, and it's almost like everyone else kind of disappears a bit. And I know that particularly upsets Rohit fans. I understand why. He is the captain, but think about it. They've put Pat Cummins down in the corner, so that's just what happens. And it's not a mark of disrespect. It's just that particular aura that he has, and his appeal to viewers here. The broadcasters, the newspapers, they all just focus massively on Kohli. I can't imagine what it must like to be in the centre of all that. Or it must. Right, well, none of us can imagine it really. But that's basically the big hype. And of course, all the secrecy around training at the Wacker and people bringing step ladders to try and peek over the top, and then India putting up more shade cloths so that no one can see, and all of that. So that is just going to increase the scrutiny even more, I think, as we lead up to the first test.
Yeah, it's truly incredible. It's heartwarming as an Indian cricket fan, as a Virat Kohli fan as well. And that piece you showed us, Mel, I think if you guys go deeper and check that out, it starts off with saying, should I say good day, mate? Or should I say namaste, dosto? Which is pretty much the first words of that paragraph, which goes on to again show how much India is loved in Australia right now. But I have to ask you, is the Australian public kind of scared of this team India doing a hat-trick of Border Gavaskar trophies in their own backyard? Because that'll be unprecedented. So what is the mood really right now? Even though India have been battered by New Zealand and they come to this with their tail between their legs, do you still think Australia are kind of fearful of Kohli and company?
I don't know that afraid or fearful are the right words. I mean, I think there's a huge amount of respect and anticipation in what will hopefully be another fantastic series. I do feel like there's maybe a little bit more confidence, and perhaps that's coming from India's recent performances as well. And also the fact that, that the big four, this will undoubtedly be the last time that we see Rohit, Virat, Ash, Jadeja all playing together in a test series in Australia. You can't see that happening again. So I think there's a feeling that, well, it's their last one. Does that mean they bring out something special, or does it mean, India are a little bit further ahead along from Australia, although Australia's got a slightly older team now if you look at a lot of teams. So that's something. But I think what Australians will be wary of the fact that last time, Kohli went home, Shami was busted and had to go home. You ended up having, obviously, Rishabh Pant. He is one player that Australians will be very, very wary of. But last time, you think of the players who sort of came into the side, and Siraj and Washington Sundar, and then Natarajan as well. Where is he? What's happened to T Natarajan? Oh, damn. I liked him. But the fact that these other players came up, I think even if there are certain players who don't perform, there'll be a wariness that there are others who might. A lot of the Indian players seem to sort of make their name and kind of break out in Australian series, don't they?
Let's get the predictions out of the way, because I was looking at it. And the way this tour is kind of penciled out, I don't know if you agree with me. Perth's obviously going to be spicy, fast, and hostile. We always expect that, even in the good old days of the Wacker. And then you go to that day-night test in Adelaide, which there is, of course, a break in India playing the Prime Minister 11 and so on and so forth. Then Brisbane, and then, of course, MCG, where we've had relatively good success. I think Sydney's already been marked by many as a washout, given the rain around, I think, in the early time of 2025. So look, 5 tests. Can you give us an immediate scoreline predictions, given the WTC things are also on the line?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I tell you what, just sneakily, I quite fancy South Africa and to make that final. I think they're going to be like that horse that just stays back and then comes around the outside in the final straight. They look good because India and Australia, I expect will take points off each other. So if we say that the SCG will be a draw because of rain, which, that's a fair bet. I do think Australia, I do fancy them. Maybe 2-1. I hate making predictions. It's such a mug's game. I could say 30 to 48, and it'll probably be just as accurate. But I do think at home, Australia have done an awful lot to get ready. They've pretty much sacrificed a chance of being truly competitive and putting out their best team against Pakistan in the white ball series that have been on here, resting players all over the place. I expect them to be quite fresh and ready to go. And I think just at home, with what's happened lately, I expect them to have a slight advantage. So that's why I'm saying 2-1. But I have no great confidence in saying that.
And I have no great confidence in giving you a reply saying India could actually go on and do a hat-trick over there, because I'm thinking to myself, even if we pull out a 3-0 win, which is absolutely unthinkable in this moment of time, it'll have to be something miraculous from all the boys. Just a word on the new captain. Essentially, when I say the new captain, he's captained India before, just Bumrah. He'll obviously be taking over at Perth. Do you think the Australian media will go easy on him? And of course, his coach, Gautam Gambhir. Or do you think they will try to press their buttons in press conferences to get a headline out of 2?
Oh, are you kidding? I did notice, who was it who was saying that Gautam Gambhir maybe should, who was it who was it who was saying that? Was it Sunny? It was Sanjay. Yes. The Australian journalist, I have absolutely no doubt, will be hoping and praying that Gautam Gambhir comes out and gives a few press conferences, because they will have absolutely no compunction whatsoever in pushing buttons. I mean, I kind of miss, I tell you, Ravi Shastri used to give the most entertaining press conferences. I used to sit there trying not to laugh because he was so entertaining. He was brilliant. Jasper Bumrah, gosh, I mean, trying to get a rise out of Jasper Bumrah, that'd be like trying to kick a puppy. Why would you want to do that? He's so sweet. I cannot imagine Jasper Bumrah like getting in there in a press conference and being all this. I just can't. I think he'd bring in, I don't know, snacks for everyone, maybe cold drinks so that everyone was comfortable. So I think he'll be okay. It'd be amazing to see a different side of him, as in I would be amazed. But he's such a lovely character, Jasper Bumrah. So maybe he can just beat them with kindness.
I agree with you. I think he won't be a deer in front of the headlights, but I think he'll be more timid and, of course, less vocal than Rohit. But let's see how it all unfolds. Thank you yet again, and have a fantastic summer ahead, and we'll catch you soon.
Thank you.